Buchelefu, tubaniriza ku Soul TV program Omunnyo Ku Makya enkyalero enakusa omwezi olwalero ziri 2 omwezi ogw'omunana omwaka 2023. Amanya agange nze tusima Apollo kabera kaseera kakubaganya birowoozo ku nsonga eziriwo mu kiseera kino kyennyini mu ggwanga lyattu Uganda. Lunaku lwakusatu enteekateeka nga bwe nkutegeezezza zibeera za kubaganya birowoozo naye tuyozayoza omutanda Ssaabasajja Kabaka wa Buganda ku lw'amatikkira ag'omulundi ogwasatu tukulisaayo bannaffe ababadde mu nteekateeka yennyini era ne twagaliza omutanda Kabaka wa Buganda obulamu obulungi Katonda mutuwangalize. Byabufuzi bulijjo mu programu Omunnyo Ku Makya tutunulira ensonga ezo ezikwata ku muntu waffe wa bulijjo wabaddewo enteekateeka ez'enjawulo okulabika nga buli awo 2026 wanaatuukira tubeere nga tweteeseteese akakiiko k'ebyokulonda kamaze dda okulaunchinga roadmap oba okufulumya roadmap enteekateeka yonna namutaayi Kabutya kalulu ka 2026 bwe kanaatambula awo noomanyira nti 2026 yandibanga aguse. Tujukire bulungi bannabyabufuzi akaseera tekabeera kangu, akaseera ka kalulu kaseera oboolyawo kakutuukiriza aspirations z'abantu abamu ate kakukutula mitima gy'abantu abamu. Kale katubirinde butya bwe binaatambula naye ate ensonga enkulu ku muntu owa bulijjo yandibadde ensonga ya enkulaakulana etambudde etya mu kisanja kino kye tugenda okumalako mu 2026 ekyatandika 2021. Omuntu wa bulijjo yandyagadde okulaba services obuweereza butambudde butya, kasente mu nsawo weekali, obwavu bweyongedde bukendedde ate oboolyawo ne obusobozi mu bantu okwetuusaako ebyo beetaaga mu bulamu bwo butambudde butya. Ndowooza omuntu wa bulijjo kyetaaga mu kaseera kano kennyini ab'ebyobufuzi baba nga bo batunuulidde bifo ki bagenda okuvuganyaako. Omuntu wa bulijjo wandibadde osooka kulowooza ku kiki ofunyeemu mu kaseera kano ketuvava mu kalulu aka 2021 okutuuka leero, gwe kiki kyofunyeemu, kiki kyosobola ogaa nti kino kyo lazima nkiganyuddwamu mu bukulembeze obaddewo ebbanga bweriti. Naye ebyo nga bigenda mu maaso bavuganya mu kisawo ky'ebyobufuzi nabo bagenda mu maaso n'okubaako bye bakola ebyenjawulo. President Museveni ali eri asaggula mwezi we gwagwereddeko ate ne wiiki ewedde nayo wetwagiwunzikidde nga President Museveni ali mu nsi eza Bulaaya. President Museveni yasooka mu summit, Africa Russia Summit, yali mu kibuga St Petersburg ekya eggwanga erya Russia. Eyo nno enzingo zaali 2 era n'asinkana omukulembeze w'eggwanga eryo Vladimir Putin n'ebibinja ebyenjawulo mu nteekateeka ey'okusaggula kulabika nti abaako bamusiga nsimbi abavaayo bajje wane waffe oboolyawo batuyambe okwekulaakulanya mu nsonga y'ebyobusuubuzi mu n'ensonga endala zonna. So si gwe gusoose President Museveni akikoze aze nga atalaaga ebitundu ebyenjawulo oba ensi ez'enjawulo ng'oggyeko okuba nti waaliwo okutaataganyizibwa kw'ensonga ya ekirwadde kya COVID-19 naye President Museveni gwo omulimu agukoze ogw'okusagula erudda n'erudda alabe nga oboolyawo wabaawo bamusiga nsimbi abajja wano mu Uganda babeereko bye bakola nga batandika amakolero bawa abantu emirimu era bakikoze abamu ate abalala balemereddwa tebitambudde nga bwe byanditambudde oboolyawo. Era mu nteekateeka eyo omuntu wa bulijjo wandyebuuziza nti naye amakolero oba kale abamu babuuza mu kiseera kino kyennyini nti amakolero agatondeddwawo oba bamusiga nsimbi abayireeteddwa mu ggwanga Uganda balina kye batwongeddeko. Yes, kyandibanga weekiri naye kyenkana ki mu nteekateeka eyo yennyini bw'otunuulira amakolero n'otambulako oluguudo olwo olwa Jinja Road ojja kulaba Industrial Park e Namanve bali very busy kuba eryo n'okutuuka e Mukono Lugazi olaba ddala amakolero mapya agazimbiddwa. Okwate kuba erya Bombo Road olabira ddala amakolero mu bitundu ebya Matuga, Kawempe, Luweero wonna olabira ddala amakolero amapya agazimbiddwa n'ekubo n'amakubo amalala gonna nga Hoima Road otaddeko kuba eri Mbalala Masaka highway olabira ddala nti waliwo ensonga y'amakolero yo eriko bwetambudde naye ekibuuzo kiri nti bannayuganda baganyuddwa kyenkana ki makolero ago makolero ago galina kye gaziza eri bannayuganda oba olyawo abatandika amakolero be basinga okufunamu ye discussion eri mu kiseera kino kyennyini na butya Uganda bwe yepositioninze mu global politics mu kiseera kino twadde twogera ku His Excellency the President yabadde mu Russia ate CEO kabo yavuddeyo Russia nga okusinkana President wa Russia Vladimir Putin yasinkanye naye President wa eggwanga erya Serbia Alexander Vučić era ne wabayirako endagaano ez'enjawulo ezaateekeddwako emikono mu nteekateeka nga bwe nkutegeezezza eyokulabika nti oba olyawo wabeerawo ensuubulagana n'okwongera ku trade volumes okuva erudda n'erudda sinakindi si mu nkolagana y'ebyobusuubuzi naye ate tujjukira nti oba tukimanyi nti ne mu nkolagana y'ebyobufuzi nayo nsonga nkulu mu eyo era abamu abalabye ebifaananyi ebyo byolaba nga President Museveni atambula mu kwawa anyumyamu ne President wa Russia abamu balowoozezza nti oba olyawo kyandibanga kijja tukosa oba olyawo okubanga Russia erina ebizibu byayo ate ne President Vladimir Putin naye alina ebizibu bye n'emikwano gyoba ab'oludda luli Abamerica n'Abangereza ab'oludda eyo naye ate ndowooza yensalawo gye twasazeewo okukolagana na buli omu yenna President Museveni era okuva dda abadde azakyogera nti teryandiyagadde eggwanga Uganda libeereko oludda nti ffe tukolagana ne bano ate bano tefuba tetukolagana nabo so ye discussion ebaddewo nga President Yoweri Museveni asinkanye omukulembeze wa Russia ku lukyalo olwo lwabadde olw'ennaku ebbiri abantu abamu nga bagamba nti tekituviireko obuzibu kuba President wa Russia ayina ebizibu ne America n'ensi za NATO ensi ate ze tubadde oba olyawo tuze tutambula nazo ebbanga ddene so byebyo ebimu ebisuubirwa erudda eyo President Museveni yayogereziganyiza ne abakulembeze mu ggwanga erya Russia ku nsonga ya oil y'amafuta gaffe oil exploration bayogedde ku nsonga ya nuclear power energy guno masanyalaze aga nuclear bayogedde ku nsonga ya fertilizers Russia yemu ku nsi ezisingayo okukola ebijimusa ate mu kaseera kano nga twogera ku commercial agriculture oba olyawo wandowoozeza nti twetaaga fertilizers bayogedde ku nsonga ya pathogenic economy ensonga ey'okukola eddagala ndiyita eddagala naye mu nsonga ey'okulwanyisa ebirwadde ebibalukawo mu mbeera eyo President Museveni era kigambibwa kiri ku bwino nti bayogedde ku nsonga y'okukola battery electric batteries zino batteries z'amasanyalaze era bayogedde ne ku nsonga ya space science Russia yemu ku nsi ezirina technology azimba ebizungirizi zimba ebintu ebyo ebitambulira mu bbanga so zemu ku areas of cooperation kugambye nti cooperation area esooka yabadde ya oil exploration wabaddewo nuclear power energy wabaddewo fertilizers waliwo pathogenic economy electric batteries ne space science so tubijjayo bino olw'okwagala okutangaaza abantu baffe abawansi nti oba olyawo gwe wandibanga otunuulira Russia okuba nti eri ku lutalo n'eggwanga erya Ukraine oba ensi za NATO nti oba olyawo kyandibadde tekyetaagisa okuba nti President waffe omukulembeze waffe okusinkana omusajja bw'atyo actually President wa Russia aliko n'ekiwandiiko kye bakuntumye okutwalibwa mu kooti y'ensi yonna olw'egyo emisango gye bagamba nti yazizza mu lutalo olw'eggwanga erya Russia ne Ukraine so ne tukijjayo ekifaananyi ekyo okulaga nti waliwo oba olyawo kye tusobola okuganyulwamu mu nteekateeka nga zino kuba nkugambye nti bwe tubeera nga twogera ku oil exploration eggwanga lyaffe Uganda lirudde nga lirina amafuta nga tumanyi nti tulina amafuta ndowooza twazuula amafuta mu mwaka gwa 1996 era nega ebeera exploration zatandika mu 2006 ndowooza erudde eyo so bazze batusuubiza nti amafuta esabwa yonna gajja kuvayo mu ttaka gatuyambeko okwongera okunyweza ebyenfuna byaffe naye ate ensonga eyo eruddewo kubanga etuukirira olw'okuba nti tetulina technology tetulina busobozi, tetulina nsimbi z'okuinvestinga mu mafuta gaffe. So President Museveni babanga atunudde erudde eno e Russia okuba nti oil exploration bajje mu sekta eno y'amafuta batuyambeko okuyiikula amafuta gaffe, ndowooza kiba kitukolera mu nteekateeka yennyini. Mpozi ate bwe twogera ku nuclear power energy, kankujukize nti Uganda yazuula dda nti tulina ebirombe bya uranium ky'obugagga eky'omutaka ekikola nuclear, eba ekikola amasanyalaze aga nuclear, era twakamala dda okakasa nti mu Uganda tulina uranium. So ndowooza partnerships nga zino ziba zituyambako obaolyawo okubaako kyetwongerako ku nkulaakulana yaffe. Tetusobola kugamba nti obaolyawo enteekateeka nga zino zisobola okufa etogge. Njogedde ku nsonga ya fertilizers ebigimusa, njogedde ne ku nsonga y'okuba nti ku ssaawa eno olwaleero twogera ku commercial agriculture. Tosobola kwogera ku commercial agriculture nga toyogedde ku nsonga ya fertilizers, kubanga bw'oba oyogera ku byobulimi ebiri ku large scale ebigenda okuvaamu ensimbi, oyo oba oteekwa kubanga oli assured ku nsonga ya production. Nti production eteekwa kubanga eteekwa kulinnya oba egaziyemuko, teekwa kubanga kyofulumya nga kingiko, si kubanga tufulumya bye tubadde tufulumya nga President Museveni bw'adde ayogera kukolera ekidda kyonka. Tuteekwa kukyusa endowooza, tukyuse n'enkola zaffe, tulabike nga obaolyawo tulina kyetwongerako ku kyetufulumya mu byobulimi. Tubeere nga bwe tuba twogera ku nsonga y'amata, tubeere nga amata tufulumya ge tusobola n'okupaakinga, si katale kana akaffe kokka, naye nga tusobola n'ogapaakinga tugatunde mu katale ak'ebweru, kuba amata bw'onooba nga togongeddeeko mutindo olunaku teruziba nga teganaba kwonooneka. So enteekateeka bwetyo bwe tuba nga twogera ku commercial agriculture, ebyobulimi n'obulunzi ebivaamu ensimbi, oteeka kwogera ku fertilizers, oteeka kwogera ku value addition, oteeka kwogera ku bintu ebityo. So tugezaako okulaga nti ensinkano nga zino eza President Yoweri Museveni, omukulembeze w'eggwanga lyaffe, n'ensi endala zonna nga tetusosoddemu, ogenda kulaba nti waliwo ensonga enene ey'amaanyi esobola okuvaamu, oba omuganyulo ogw'amaanyi ogusobola okuva mu nteekateeka bwe ziti. Pathogenic economy, ndowooza ekyo twasinga nnyo kiwulira mu kiseera kino ekya COVID-19 nga tutandise okunoonyereza oba tusobola okuzimba laboratory zaffe, tusobola okuba nga tukola vaccines zaffe, tukole eddagala eryaffe erisobola otutaasa mu kiseera kya COVID-19. Ebisaawe by'ennyonyi byonna n'ensi nga nzigale nga tetusobola kubuuka okutwala okugenda okunoonya ebyobujjanjabi mu nsi ez'ebweru. Twakitegeera nti twetaaga okuzimba capacity mu nsonga ey'okwekolera eddagala n'okukola vaccines ez'enjawulo ezisobola otuyambako okutangira ebirwadde ebibalukawo mu kaseera katono bwe katyo. So bw'olaba nga President Museveni agenda mu Russia boogere ku nsonga ya pathogenic economy, butya bwe tusobola okukolagana mu nsonga eya pathogenic economy, olaba nga lazima obaolyawo President Yoweri Museveni yabadde ku mulamwa omutuufu mu kaseera kano kwennyini. Ensi actually ne olukalu lwa Africa kwali kusomozebwa kwa maanyi okubanga tetwalina busobozi obusobola okwekolera vaccine yaffe ne tumaliriza nga tudduse tugenze mu India, tugenze mu China, tugenze ne mu nsi endala okulabika nga tufuna vaccine. So embeera bwetyo bweri, katusuubire nti ensonga eneetambula bulungi, naye omulamu omutuufu guli nti enteekateeka zino zonna ez'okulaba nga tunuulira 2026 tufunyeemu ki mu kino kyennyini. Gavumenti etukoledde ekyo kyennyini kye yatusuubiza, oba eri ku mulamwa ogutuukiriza ebisuubizo byayo oba nedda. So ensonga bwetyo bweri, naye mu kaseera kano kennyini waliwo ensonga gye nandagadde nayo twogereko yeya ebyobulambuzi. Ebyobulambuzi yemu ku sectors mu ggwanga Uganda obaolyawo gye tusuubira nti yandibadde eyambako okwongera revenue, okuyingiza ensimbi mu economy yaffe, naye ate obaolyawo abamu balowooza nti budget eteekebwa mu tourism sector yandibanga si yeeyo ematiza bulungi. Twegatte ku Bashir Hanji. Bashir Hanji ye mwogezi w'ekitongole ekya Uganda Wildlife Authority ekivunaanyizibwa ku bibira byaffe n'ebisolo byaffe by'omu nsiko, buli bwe tusobola obikuuma n'okulabika nga tubitegekera bulungi ensonga eno y'abalambuzi. Abalambuzi bwe bajja mu Uganda basange nga twetegese bulungi, batambule bulungi, balambuzibwe bulungi. You are most welcome and you are live on Soul TV. Bashir Hanji, speak to our viewers before we kick off this discussion. rotating around tourism and the tourism sector in Uganda.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to join you. Viewers, good morning. I greet you in the name of conservation.
Go right ahead. Briefly, if you can tell us the significance of the tourism sector, the relevance and the contribution it brings to our economy.
Thank you very much. When you talk about tourism, one thing we all need to appreciate is the fact that we are talking about attracting visitors to come to Uganda from all parts of the world. And you know, when they come to Uganda, they visit all the attractions that we have. You can want to talk about nightlife, you want to talk about our food, you may want to talk about the nature, you may want to talk about our culture, you may want to talk about religion. You know, we have religious tourism, and then we want to talk about the attractions that God has gifted this country, the Pearl of Africa. So all these are attractions that attract people to come to Uganda. And Uganda's tourism being largely nature-based, it means that quite a number of those really want to go to protected areas. We are talking about national parks and wildlife reserves that we have in the country. Now, tourism has a huge contribution, and you know, by any measure, year after year, apart from that time when we are hit by COVID, it remained one of the sectors that earn a lot of forex for the country, one of the sectors that have a multiplier effect. Look at a situation where someone travels from the UK and then reaches Entebbe airport. There is a tour operator there waiting for this visitor. This tour operator has a vehicle, he has a driver, he has a guide. Now, all these are areas of expenditure. And now this person, the tour operator is going to buy fuel. This person is going to buy some muchomo along the way. They are starting to experience the cuisine, the food tourism that we have as a country. Are going to buy gonja, plantain, and then assuming this person is going to Queen, he reaches somewhere around Chambura there. He also grabs a bite where this person is going to sleep. Now, you can see how this person is spending right from the time he pays for a visa, right from the time he books a flight, right from the time he books a travel itinerary to Uganda. So all these are contributions. And in addition to that, when this single tourist goes to Queen and he pays the $40 and enters a park, 20% of this will go down to the communities. And here we are talking about community livelihoods. Remember, as government, we are looking at socioeconomic transformation, and here we are specifically focusing on fighting household poverty. So tourism has a huge contribution. We sometimes look at the statistics, but you know, the statistics, they say numbers don't lie, but the reality of it is that there is a much bigger contribution that of the sector towards the development of the economy, right from the local level up to national level. So it is a huge thing for us as a country. Whereas it's a fact that it remains one of those less funded in terms of budgets.
But I wanted you to try to expound what has been our attitude, our response to that huge income earner as tourism. Give us a brief opinion on how government has responded, how it has embraced tourism as a sector, and again, how has the population embraced tourism as an income revenue earner?
Thank you very much. Government has put in place a conducive environment, and government has put in place policies and institutions that are supposed to see that this sector grows. The institution has a full-fledged ministry, the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. It has a marketing arm, Uganda Tourism Board. You have a conservation arm, Uganda Wildlife Authority. And then you have other sectors. Then we have the private sector. Now, government has put in place all the environment that we need to ensure that the sector grows. So in terms of attitude, government is very, very positive about the tourism sector in the country. And government really identifies tourism as one of the key drivers of the economy. Now, but you come at a local level, and we are talking about attitudes. An ordinary Ugandan, myself, you, and some other person who is watching us now, what is their attitude? We still have this attitude of saying, maybe abazungu, that's for the whites, it's for the foreigners. They are the ones who should come and go and visit the parks, go to CP Falls, go and visit the Masiro, go and visit the shrines at Namgongo, for as long as it involves paying. Most of us, we would want to go there when we are not paying. When it comes to paying, people say no. But you know, surprisingly, since the advent of COVID, and when COVID actually reduced, we saw a number of many Ugandans coming up to tour their country. I can tell you that, for example, if you look at the parks, the national parks, up to now, the biggest percentage of people who are visiting now are Ugandans. Ugandans have learned to spend weekends inside protected areas. They have learned to organize themselves in groups and go and do tour and travel. I think this is very good for us, but we haven't reached there because I mean we want to see, for example, if you're talking about people who are visiting the parks, we can talk of around 340,000 people who have visited the parks, but we want to see millions in the parks. I want to enter Queen Elizabeth and find it full of people. Okay, I want to see Pianupe Wildlife Reserve full of Ugandans, so that they feel their country, so that they develop their country, so that they promote Destination Uganda. And by the way, promoting Destination Uganda is for each and every one of us. These days, we are in the era of digital communication. We are in the era of citizen journalism. At least every person has either a Facebook page, a Twitter handle, others on Snapchat, others on all these sorts of social media platforms. And we want to see every person promoting Destination Uganda. You see, you may post that you have been able to hike the Rwenzoris, but you may not know the implication of your post, because posting is one thing, but also determining the reach of your post, that is beyond you. Your single post can go very far and inspire someone in Canada to come and also hike the Rwenzoris. So we should not underestimate our ability as Ugandans to promote Destination Uganda. We should not leave this to Uganda towards the next of government.
I get it, Bashir, I get it. The attitude is positive, and indeed it is growing within Ugandans. But you said the tourism sector is the least funded sectors in this country. Doesn't that undermine the growth of the sector? And in any way, are we not under-exploiting the tourism opportunities in this country?
When you say least funded, I think you are using a word that is inappropriate, because it's in allocation of resources. You never have a sector that's not complaining. Okay? So, and one thing I want us to appreciate is that the tourism sector is government-led but private sector-driven. That's the most important thing we should know. Government will come, put in some resources, put in policies, put in institutions, give us and rather enabling laws to operate. But it is largely private sector driven. You and myself and the private tour operators, they are the guys who are driving the sector. Government is there to lead and offer policy guidance and direction. So how much government puts in, well, there's no sector that has all the resources it wants. But also, you realize that considering that it is a sector that generates a lot of forex for the country, probably would have expected to have a much bigger budget. But of course, when it comes to allocation of resources, it is not the only sector that we have in the country. So when you say yes, it received less than what it expected, but I mean, all entities have received less than what they expected. Bottom line is that the private sector is up to the task to drive the industry.
Do you agree with me that indeed our tourism sector has not been fully exploited? And can you tell us how far you in your sector, the wildlife sector, have put in place measures to ensure that much more of that sector is exploited?
I think when you talk of the tourism sector being inadequately exploited, yes, because we have a lot of tourism potential. I mean, do you know that we can do infrastructure as a tourism product? So I entirely agree with you. There's a lot of potential that we have not yet exploited as a country. But you see, the bottom line is that we are but the bottom line is that we are moving in the right direction. The issue now is product development. Are we developing as many tourism products as possible? And by the way, I want to say this. We should not expect government to come and start developing products. Let me give you an example. I don't know the area where you come from, but where I come from, we have a practice of you harvest millet, you come, you process millet until when you mingle and you have millet bread. Now, that alone can be a product, okay? They are what we call homestays. That alone can be a product, and it is up to us to do that. Government is not going to come and develop these products, but government will come in to do what we call quality assurance, to ensure that these products are up to certain standards. Because as a country, we must have standards. We must ensure that the people who come to visit our country get the best services possible so that they are able to go and also become our ambassadors. Now, in UWA, in the parks, one of the things, you remember, we are a conservation agency. Our role is largely to protect and conserve the wildlife resources. And we've done this religiously, I can tell you, without fear of contradiction or favor. I want to say that the animal numbers have increased across the board in all our parks. Why? Because we have put in place systematic and consistent conservation interventions that have favored the growth, rather the flourishing of the habitat, so that the animals have a good environment to thrive in, and as such, we have seen the animal populations increasing. The other thing we've done also is to ensure that these animals are adequately protected in terms of law enforcement. We have a ranger force that is on the ground, and we ensure that there are no people who are coming to kill these animals. The people are coming to poach. We've been arresting quite a number of them, prosecuting them in the courts of law, and we've received the number of convictions. But most importantly, is working with the communities, ensuring that the communities buy into the conservation agenda, ensuring that the communities are part and parcel of the conservation beyond just talk, but rather feeling. And this is an area where I've done a lot of awareness and education, but also sharing the benefits with the communities. For example, I did talk of the 20% that we give back to the communities. Now, when these communities get this money, they feel that, oh, okay, so we are also beneficiaries. They make sure that, one, they will not encroach on protected area land. Two, they also make sure that they do not hide poachers. If they are poachers, somehow we get information and we make sure that these poachers are withdrawn from society and kept somewhere so that the wildlife can thrive. And also, of course, we have ensured that we try as much as possible to fight especially illegal wildlife trade and wildlife trafficking. You know, we have a canine unit at the airport, at Entebbe Airport. Whoever is going out of the country, we make sure that we check to ensure that there are no wildlife products. But most importantly, we have what we call interagency collaboration, where we are working with relevant entities of government. For example, Uganda Revenue Authority, Customs, our sister forces like the UPDF, the police, mention them. We are working with all these to ensure that as a country, we protect this resource, which is a great tourist attraction, so that people come and visit these protected areas, go back, give
Mr.
us
Hanji,
very good recommendations.
Mr. Hanji,
and yes.
I can hear you. I can hear you. You have well done a great job. Keeping increasing on the animal population, yes, the statistics are really favor you on that side, but the areas of conservation are shrinking. Don't you think that really undermines the whole idea of conservation? If you have the wildlife protected areas being encroached on, and actually some of them being taken up by industrialists, talk of Bugoma Forest, talk of other areas like Mabira, I think those should be protected areas that we should also protect to the latter.
I can't agree more with you. You are on point. That is a valid point. One of the challenges that we are grappling with is, we have a huge population now. The population of human beings is increasing. So is the population of the wildlife. And as such, there is competition for resources. And this increasing population of human beings is exerting pressure on these protected areas. People want land for cultivation, people want land for settlement, people want land for industrialization, people want land for commercial farming, and this is one of the huge challenges that we are grappling with. We are, however, mindful of the fact that we have a role to play. I'm sure you've heard on a number of occasions, we've been accused of being more pro-wildlife than human beings, and this has never been true. But you see, we've been up to the task. Actually, if you've not been doing a good job, you do not be talking of the shrinking, protected areas. No, you'll be talking of protected areas that no longer exist. But now that they exist, it means we are doing a great job. But of course, people will always try. But whenever we try, we make sure that we contain such illegal activities. There are areas where we have boundary issues, and where some community members said, no, this land used to be ours, and then we go to court. If you look at here at Mount Elgon National Park, we have boundary issues there. Some parts of Queen Elizabeth National Park, we have some boundary issues. But these are issues that we resolve with people. So yes, the pressure is there, but I can give you my word. We are up to the task. However, I want to mention this, and I'm saying this in good faith. We have some local leaders who are not in for conservation. And some of these leaders actually incite some community members. Say they tell them, you have nowhere to cultivate. Land is there. Why are these people keeping land for the animals and the trees and the forests when you people have nowhere to cultivate? So we have some of the leaders who are spreading this kind of gospel. It's very unfortunate. But we have been also up to the task, because we also have leaders who are very supportive, and they form the majority. And these supportive leaders have been able to help us, one, to engage communities, to ensure that these communities do not encroach on protected area land, and those ones who encroach on protected areas, we go out and help them to get out. Now, this help, someone will say that we force them outside these protected areas, others will say that we use the excessive force, but for us, this is unsolicited help that we give them, because once we find you in a protected area, we give you notice to vacate. Now, at the expiry of the notice period, we come and help you to go out. Yes, we have that pressure, but we are containing it.
Okay, Mr. Hanji, tell us about the 20% that goes back to the communities living near protected areas. Yes, indeed, that's a good idea, but is this 20%, in your own opinion, really improving the livelihoods of people living around these conservation areas, so that it also gives them, brings them on board to be part of the conservation strategy and the whole idea?
This 20% that we share with communities under the revenue sharing programs, it has made a tremendous contribution in terms of improving the livelihoods of communities. Look, my brother, we are saying that we have areas such as social services. And you see, the beauty is that the communities are the ones that come up with projects where this money should be sent. Now, once these projects come, we we release money to go to these particular community projects. Some communities have put up classroom blocks, others have put up health facilities, others have opened up access roads, and an access road is very, very important. Others have ventured into water harvesting, others they are into enterprises, quite a number of things. And this money has helped them. But you see that there has been a complaint, and probably you are being polite, you don't want probably to bring it up. I know there have been some complaints about this money, specifically considering that this money goes through the district, because the law says that we send this money to the district, and then from the district it goes down. So there have been some complaints from some community members who say they do not feel the money. They hear it, but they do not feel it, because to them the process is so long, and maybe by the time it reaches them, some hands have touched it. We have not had any evidence to this effect, but those complaints have been there. But I believe if this money, for instance, was going directly to these people, directly to these communities, it would have minimized on the complaints, because as a matter of fact, complaints will always be there. You will never have a situation where people are saying, everything is okay. That will not happen on earth. So complaints will always be there, but I think the revenue share has made a tremendous contribution in terms of improving the livelihoods of communities. If you go and you interact with the communities neighboring any of our protected areas, and you ask them about the 20% revenue share that they get from UWA, they will tell you it has helped them a lot.
Okay, let's talk about, Mr. Angie, let's talk about the number of conservation areas. And on this, I want you to be specific. We have gazetted conservation areas like Queen Elizabeth, Machel Falls, Mugahinga, Kidepo, and others. Are we gazetting new conservation areas, or even these ones which were gazetted way back in the 60s and the 50s are being consumed, and chunks of them are being taken away? Are we gazetting new areas, or indeed what we have is what we have?
Let me first clarify on this. There is no conservation area that is being taken away. First of all, we do not have a law on degazettement. The law talks of gazetting, it doesn't talk of degazetting. So, I believe that if government wanted to degazette, for example, they may have to handle the law first, because the law does not provide for degazettement. That's one. Two, areas that have been encroached upon, we have recovered all of them. However, we still have those pockets of encroachment which we deal with on a daily basis. Someone thinks they are not seeing them, then you put their beans, or maize, and then the next thing you hear are human-wildlife conflicts, because when you plant maize, the animals come for the maize, and you find someone complaining, yet this person is actually cultivating inside a protected area. Those are pockets of encroachment that we are facing today, and we are handling them effectively. Now, in terms of new areas, I know for a fact that there are plans to upgrade some of the Central Forest Reserves into national parks. And these plans, of course, haven't been concluded, but I know for a fact that there are quite a number of Central Forest Reserves that have been earmarked to be upgraded into national parks. Now, once these are upgraded into national parks, I'm sure and certain that they will be handed over to UWA for management, because we are the entity that's responsible for the management of these national parks. So once they come into our hands, I can tell you that's going to be a little bit of a different story, because communities who have been accessing them as and when they wish, that will not happen anymore. Because for us, we are conservationists, because we want to conserve them, and the access will be on regulated basis, where we have MOUs with communities, and on specific days they enter these protected areas, access certain resources under our watchful eye, and they go out. So yes, there are plans to gazette other places that government deems fit to become national parks, so that UWA can effectively conserve them.
Bashir, but I am still with you for at least another 10 minutes. I will implore our viewers, if anyone has a question to put to Mr. Bashir Hanji, the spokesperson for the Uganda Wildlife Authority, you can send it on our WhatsApp line 0701609906. Oyina ekibuuzo kye wandyagadde okubuuza omwogezi w'ekitongole ekikuuma ebisolo byaffe eby'omu nsiko, sindika obaka otubuulire gwe obuuza ki mu nteekateeka eyo. Bashir, let me again ask you, about the new species. Because we know that we have had a problem of endangered species in this country. Some of those species have been, depleted through poaching and all other methods. I know you had a plan to protect the white rhino in this country and others. Have you introduced new species in this country which are an addition to our indigenous species as a way of telling the nation that we have actually new products or in the shelves?
Thank you very much. When it comes to introducing new species in the country, as UWA, one thing we do is to conserve what we have. But I also know that our sister agency called the Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center, UWA, or most people know it as a zoo, they brought in 2 tigers, huge tigers. Those tigers are at the zoo. They are an addition. We didn't have tigers in the country. But I want to take you to back to the issue of the rhinos. You did mention about the rhinos. You know, we're a rhino country many years back, and by 1983, the rhinos were extinct in the country. We didn't have any rhinos because I think the last breeding rhino was sighted around 1983. And since then, we didn't have rhinos in the country until 1994, when again government saw the need to reintroduce the rhinos back into the country. Now, that is when the reintroduction program started, and we reintroduced rhinos into the country. Currently, we have around 39 rhinos at Ziwa Rhino Sanctuary, and we are planning to reintroduce them into the wild. What do I mean? We are planning to take the rhinos to Ajai Wildlife Reserve. We had rhinos in Ajai Wildlife Reserve, the white rhinos in Ajai, but they became extinct. So we are planning now to reintroduce them to Ajai Wildlife Reserve, but also know that there are plans that are underway, working with the partners to also introduce eastern black rhinos into Murchison Falls National Park. This is quite, this hasn't been concluded, but the most nearest one I can talk about is the reintroduction of white rhinos into the southern white rhinos into Ajai Wildlife Reserve, because really programs are underway. We have consulted stakeholders, and now we are doing the donkey work behind the scenes of seeing how we undertake relevant studies, and then we take the rhinos back to Ajai Wildlife Reserve. That's what we are doing to reintroduce some of the species that we didn't have before, rather that got extinct, but also introducing new ones. For example, if you bring in the eastern black rhinos, those are rhinos we didn't have in Murchison, but we're going to have them there. So it is all good news. And the good thing is that the feasibility study that we did for the rhino introduction in the country identifies quite a number of areas suitable for rhino introduction. These include Lekimburo, including Kidepo, so we have areas where we can take rhinos.
Thank you so much, Hanji, and stick around. I will look at some of the messages that are actually coming in, and this is Robert from Hoima. Robert from Hoima says, thanks is Bugoma Forest planned for a national park? Sugarcane growing is eating it away, and of course that has been always a concern, especially in and around the population in that western part of the country. The Bugoma Forest issue has been a very thorny issue, rotating around why part of it is being given away to sugarcane growers, and of course I think you can, Bashir, you can quickly respond to Robert Inhoima. He says, is Bugoma Forest being planned for a national park? And finally, I will want you to implore our viewers, which areas, which protected areas would you recommend them to go for a vacation? I mean, site viewing and animal wildlife viewing.
Bugoma is one of those that have been earmarked for upgrade so that they have a higher protection status. That's one. But also, you see, whereas someone is talking about sugarcane, what about the communities themselves? They are cutting down parts of the forest. And because of this, they have been exposed to chimp attacks. And the situation is not good. This has somehow affected our relationship with the communities negatively, because as people encroach on the forest, this is where the chimps stay. So they've been exposed to chimpanzee attacks most of the times. I'm sure you've heard of those sad stories. In terms of vacation, any park you go to, trust me, you'll enjoy it, because each park has its own unique features, its own unique attractions. If you ask me my favorite, certainly I don't want to bias people, but any park you can go and enjoy. Any of these wildlife reserves, you know, you can go and have fun depending on what you want. But all the parks are there. You can visit, you can go to Windy, you can go to Queen, you can go to Mburo, you can go to Makshon, you can go to Kidepo, you can go to Elgon, you can go to Semliki, you can go to Chibale, you know, all these parks. You can go to wildlife reserves like Piano Wildlife Reserve, you can go to Katonga, you know, Toro Semliki. Each park has its own unique attractions. That's why we call Uganda the Pearl of Africa. We have all that we need. We have all that God has created. So wherever you go, you have fun and enjoy yourself.
Thank you so much for your time. I quickly wanted you to tell us about the endangered species, so that Ugandans should be able to know those endangered species. Quickly, can you do that in just 1 minute?
It is a long red list of endangered species. There are very many, but for Uganda, all the species inside protected areas, we are protecting them to the maximum. And as such, please do not look for what is endangered and what's not endangered. Protect wildlife. Where you see wildlife, protect it, conserve it. Join us in conserving all the species that we have in the country.
So much, and let me read out these messages as you're still listening. Good morning, thanks for the show. Mine is a concern. Most of the immigrants end up being sold land that belongs to the game reserves because of ignorance, and the local council approves the buying. When UWA comes, such a people end up losing. How can you help them? Isaac Ocho from Entebbe. And of course, I will pick, there are many messages coming in. I'll pick another one here. Apollo webale kuwereza nze wamala ambassador Galaxy, okay, and he is worried about empologoma zalia omusubuzi wa matooke mbuliza fande akatambi. Okay, just one minute, and I think it was a clarification did come out. Empologoma zalia omusajja yali atunda amatooke oba nedda waliwo akatambi akatambula, in one word.
Nedda empologoma tezamulya omwami oyo yayambibwa abantu yatasibwa abalambuzi abaaliwo ne bamukwata nayingira mu motoka yaabwe. Empologoma tezamulya, tezamutuusako kisago kyonna, era aliwuwe alya butoola.
tweyanze Bashir Hanchi ye mwogezi w'ekitongole ekikuuma ebisolo by'omu nsiko. We will catch up with you anytime. Thank you so much for your time, and let's hope Ugandans now know what to do. Tourism sector is sector n'ebyobulambuzi faba mutulowooza nti yemu bwebanga etereddwako amaanyi esobola okuyambako okuyimirizaawo economy yaffe, naye ate ekyenaku nti tetunabakolo kukikola nga bwe kyandigwanidde. Atugambye nti abantu ababulijjo private sector yesuubirwa okubaako ekyamaanyi kyekola okutumbula sector eno. So ndowooza abaddukira mu byobusuubuzi waliyo business eyo. If you start a hotel, that is part of the tourism and service sector. Bobanga twewenyigidde mu kutta ebisolo oba oyambyeko okuyamba tourism sector. Ne religious tourism byonna bino nga betulabe na mugongo byonna ebyo bisobola tuyamba ogezaako okulaba nga tutumbula sector yaffe ebyobulambuzi. Katubagalize olunaku olulungi, kansuubire nti olina kyoyize oba kyofunye mu programu eno. Twebaza nnyo abasindisa obubaka wabumu tetusobodde busoma, mutusonyiwe naye tujja kubanga tuzitunulako message zammwe era tukoleko gye tusobola okukola. Agangeze tusema Apollo kambagaliza olunaku olungi. Tudde musinkana olunaku olw'enkya tugenda mu byemizannyo. Kitaka Abel ali Cape Town mu South Africa, ndowooza ajja kubanga atuwa update ku nteekateeka ey'eggwanga lyaffe begenda okuzannyamu n'eggwanga erya Wales n'ebirala bwe bityo nga bwe tubikuwa bulijjo. Mbagaliza olunaku olulungi, musibe bulungi.